Hello, welcome back to another LEGO building video. We are back with part 4 of our United Forces Battleship build. We're just going to be continuing work on the deck section, starting right now with the little elevated section at the front of the ship. There's also one in the back of the ship, which we will do later. But we're just adding in the stairs, I guess. They're more of a ramp in this version, but to each their own. And actually that middle stair section I added way too far back, so I'm going to move it up right now and make it more in line with where it needs to be. And then yeah, we're just fitting all of that in. Nothing too difficult, nothing too crazy yet. Just making sure that they're all connected as securely as they can, given that we are working with studs on either side and kind of meeting up in the middle with no connection. So we're trying our best. Luckily, sometimes it works out nicely. We can just fit that brick right in the middle there on either side. Yeah, and just like how we were doing before, we're just going to use use staggering plates and tiles to line it up with the side of the hull on the interior, and that way it ends up just against the hull right there. Even though there are little gaps, it ends up looking really smooth and working all together nicely. I think I can't remember if I fixed that or not. I think the only real gap along the top of the hull is that one right there that we just did. I don't know if you can see it, but where those hinge bricks, the gap that's created by those, just on the front next to the earthbender turret, there is a gap right there, and I don't remember if I fixed that or not, or covered it up. I guess we'll see. But either way, it's really not distracting, just because, especially once we finish, there will be so much going on top of the hull that you really wouldn't notice any gaps anyway. So if we don't fix it, no big deal. And we're just attaching the curved pieces right here on the side in a different direction so that they will fit together nicely, and so that it will cover that gap. Oh, maybe I am fixing it. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Sort of. We're getting there. That's better than it was. It's something. So yeah. That's how we did that side, and we're just going to mirror it now. Luckily it's super easy to mirror. Just kind of copy it over, flip it around. Now we're going to do pretty much the same exact thing, but on the back. And the back section has very similar raised section to it. It doesn't have the middle stairs, because there will end up being, I guess, I'm assuming it's like a boiler or something there, to cover up any stairs that are there would be useless, so there aren't any. Yeah. And we're just going to continue. On the back raised section is a lot further forward, so there's a lot more that ends up going on top of it, alongside the turrets that are kind of all throughout the ship for the firebenders. We will be putting the escaped boats back here, and giving those a little place to rest, at least the extra ones, and also the ones on the side will go back here as well. So that's why there's so much extra room, or that's what the extra room is used for, at least. And it's a little tricky right here with this turret and covering up the gap, because it is at an angle, and we can't quite do it the way we have been, because the piece won't fit. Or it will fit, but it won't cover it up like it should. So I end up just using the curved piece on the one side like we've been doing, but on the other side I just use some slopes, as you can see. And again, we're just staggering the plates and the tiles to cover everything up and make it look all smooth. And once again, we will be flipping it over to the other side. Yeah, there we go. It's pretty simple. I think it all comes together really nicely and looks really good once it's all covered up. And we're just filling in the little gaps we left earlier, and this gap in the back. Yeah, we're just going to copy over what we've already done and make it easy on... I'm going to make it easy on myself and just do that. LDD doesn't always like to agree with making it easy, but we get there. Yeah, just once again, covering that all up, and actually that might end up being the biggest gap. You really can't see it. I just didn't really show it too closely, but there is a tiny gap in the very back, right up to the very back section of the hole in that part that sticks out. So yeah, that's probably the biggest gap there. You really can't notice it. You probably wouldn't even have known it was there if I hadn't pointed it out. So I'm happy with how that all turned out. And right here we are moving on to, I'm pretty sure this is the Firebender turrets. Like 99% sure. There's one other thing it could be, but it's been a minute since I built this. But yeah, this is definitely the Firebender turret. Just gonna build this up and tried. It doesn't currently turn like how I want it to, which I'm just now discovering because I accidentally attached it to the 1x1s that are like putting the tiles on the side on the top of it. So we're just gonna fix that right now. I keep doing it and I don't realize I'm doing it because I can be really dumb sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, just to fix that, we are going to... Oh, never mind. We're not going to put the tiles on top like I thought. Oh yeah, I think we use the... those. We're using those. And then just going to fill in the gap on the side with that nice little, very useful tile. Yeah, we're just going to take off the little pieces because they're sticking out too much and making it an uneven shape. We'll just leave it like that because it lets us do some coloring that I wanted to do and doesn't look too bad. And this is actually probably the first time I've ever used flex tubing in LDD. Actually, I honestly completely forget that it's a thing sometimes, and it's, as you can see, it can be very difficult to work with in LDD sometimes. That little tool that they have for it doesn't always work very well, so you kind of have to mess with it and trick it a little bit in order to get it to do what you want, which is why I don't really use it very often, but I'm getting a little more comfortable with it, and I would definitely like to be using it more in the future because it is a very useful tool. And yeah, so we've used that for a little railing, and we're just going to add the front actual cannon part of it. And this cannon is a really cool idea in Universe because they basically just kind of use it to focus like multiple Firebenders' blasts into a single shot to make it more powerful, which is really cool idea. And actually, something I really think they should explore a little bit more, specifically just the idea of like multiple Firebenders shooting into one thing and like it coming out a nozzle to be more powerful. I think it would be really cool. This is a weird idea, kind of a tangent that I've had for a long time that I think would be fantastic. Also, before I get into that, I really like the technique I used right there to attach the cannon. I just used like the 1x1 rounds with the tile the bar coming out of it and attached it in the middle just so it could move up and down. But anyway, so I would really like to see at some point them use this idea to a further extent. And like, so imagine next time Sozin's Comet comes around, which I think it would be definitely in Korra's lifetime. She'd be a bit older, but it would fit right into the timeline of being like in the like 60s in the Avatar universe, since Legend of Korra was based on the 20s. It would be 30 years after that, so like 50s pretty much. I think it would be a really cool idea if they use the same concept next time Sozin's Comet comes around to launch like a mission, or basically the Avatar version of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon sort of thing, which I think would be super cool to see. They are doing a lot more stuff with Avatar recently, actually. They just released the first Kyoshi book, and it's a 2-part book. It's a young adult novel, but I've heard really good things about it, and I definitely plan to pick it up because it seems super interesting. and they're doing the comics, and they have the live action series coming out soon. So if they ever explore that time period, I would absolutely love to see that. I know it's a weird, specific thing to be super excited about, but I would like, as a Legend of Korra fan, or like Avatar fan, and also as like just a general fan of space exploration, I would love that so much. Anyway, back to the build. You just saw me build the lifeboats. I've gone and placed the turrets all around most of where they'll be, at least for this whole section. And we built the lifeboats and just added them. I modified them a tiny bit off screen if you just saw that, but and I just put them in place where they are sitting on the deck, and put the two on the side, which we will attach much later, probably like the last thing we do with the build, actually, just because I didn't feel like getting to it, honestly, until then. So yeah, and now we're building the one real like building sort of section on the main hull, just this little bunker sort of thing. It has the rounded top, or the rounded roof section, and then the rounded, or like the walls come out rounded on the side, which complicates things a little bit. I don't remember how much of it I recorded, just because sometimes when like things get to get a little complicated and I mess around with it a ton, I don't record that. Mostly because, well, for a number of reasons. One, it's a lot more interesting to just watch me build it and see the technique it's definitely interesting to like see the process getting there, and I try to include that when I can, but when it gets, I've personally never liked seeing like watching a build video of anything, whether it be a video game or Lego or whatever, and have to watch the person go back like 20 times before they finally finish it, because then it feels like the last little bit you were watching is just completely useless and didn't do anything. But that's just me. That's what I prefer. So, and also sometimes it can be a little bit stressful to like know that you're being recorded while you're trying to build stuff. And with that whole idea that I just explained in mind, I like trying to get it done as quickly as possible so I'm not loitering on it and being boring and everything. So yeah, sometimes I just turn it off, partly for the entertainment value, partly because it's just less stressful for me. And that can be a game changer when you're trying to get a complicated section built. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's this specific section I'm building right here that I had the most trouble with, really. Just because there are no pieces to really replicate this curved transition in the corner. Or it's not even a transition, this is a curved corner. So I'm trying to recreate that as close as I can. I like where I ended up. I honestly don't remember what it looked like, but I know I liked it. So I guess we'll see what it ends up looking like. And honestly, I might even, sometimes too, I'll just build something and then I'll go back way later in the build process and decide I didn't like it and just change it. And I usually don't record that either, just because you've already seen me build it. Similar concepts to earlier, or similar idea. So yeah, we'll see what I end up with, and we'll see if it's the final version, because I can totally see myself going back to change this. Yeah, and then we're just going to add, in between that, we're going to add the doors on the sides and the front. And yeah, just simple little things. I actually noticed, I think like after I finished building this, that front door should be lowered down a little bit and kind of sinks into the deck. And I think the side doors might as well. But I really didn't feel like doing that because it was too much. And sometimes I have to draw the line, you know. I think that's a very fair thing to do with a lot of Lego models. Like, just sometimes enough's enough, it's accurate. As long as you get the idea across and it looks like what you're trying to create, it's not really a big deal. So yeah, that's my philosophy anyway. But that's pretty much what it's done. I guess that was my seemingly final version of the corners. And I'm just using, you only saw it briefly, but I'm using the 1x2 with the studs on the side, and then attaching it with the headlight bricks, if you know what that refers to. Just because if we just build up normal bricks, you can see right here actually that it's kind of a different height than the rest of the deck. So the headlight brick allowed us to modify that a little bit, and we're just going to mess with the corners again. Oh yeah, because I think the solution that I had found, they weren't actually connected to the rest of the build, so that's kind of important sometimes. And I just was fixing that, and that's pretty much what it is. And now we're just going to do some stuff with the flooring underneath it, hopefully for a little bit more of stability, since you can't see this section anyway. And yeah, just so everything's a little bit more attached in general, especially because you can't see it. So yeah, see, it's all covered up, it all looks nice. And I'm trying to see if I can attach it anywhere else as well, just because that one connection with the headlight bricks probably isn't going to be sufficient. And I'm trying to build up right there and see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is what I end up going with. Like a super complicated. It might not end up being complicated. Yeah, sometimes with Lego you have to get creative to get the thing you want to do. So yeah, I was just building that up and attaching it there instead, but that doesn't quite line up, so I have to move everything around a little bit to get it to line up the way I want it to. Yeah, and I think this version is in line with the whole. One of the problems too is that it was a little bit off from the studs I was doing horizontally too, so I couldn't just like build it up and attach it because I would have to move it over. So yeah, but we got there. That's good. I'm just filling in some whole section. That whole thing back there will have like the boiler and the steam engine and everything, so just leaving room for that. What are we building right now? Let's see. Oh yeah, so we're starting work on the upper hull section, so there's like a whole second level, and this is part of the support beams which attach it to the rest of the hull. And they're rounded on the side, so we're doing that right here, and the square section is just kind of the base, which is a little bit thicker, and I wanted to replicate the thickness more than the roundness. So yeah, and we're just getting it to the right height using the guides right there. And yeah, I'm gonna change that so that it attaches at the very top and there's not a gap, and just use the nice, very useful 2x2 plate with like tiles on one half of it, just to accomplish that without any gaps. And there's 3 of those supports, and then we're just going to build out the main floor plan of the second level and get all of that mapped out and get the railings going. I mean, they're not really railings, they're pretty much walls, but they're also railings, so just a different type. Yeah, and I'm trying to replicate the same pattern that we used on the main deck, even though it's studs on top this time instead of studs on the side. So I'm just using the 1x8 tiles to replicate the 1x8 bricks that were on their side. And then there are these 2 turrets up there which we are going to attach. I think I have to move them a little bit closer using some jumpers because they weren't fitting quite right. And I had to delete one of a piece in the middle, the 2 pieces in the middle of them, just because they're sticking out so much and they wouldn't fit. I think the turrets are a little bit bigger than what they should be. They should be like 6 wide, and I think they're like 6.5 or something, or 7. But it's close enough for sure. And I actually like the bigger size. I think it really helps fill up the hole a lot more and makes the final model look a lot more complete in that sense. And then we're just going to do the same sort of pillars, but they continue up and basically become smokestacks on the second level. So we're just building that up and trying to get it all accurate with the widths and everything. Yeah, I just end up. The problem is right here, I'm trying to get the width accurate while still maintaining the rounded sections on the side and not having to give that up. So I'm pretty sure I ended up doing something sort of like this, and then did the rounded 2x2 brick. Oh, never mind, I didn't do that. I should have done that. Maybe I did. Maybe I changed it. Well, that's what I would have done right now. Maybe I should change that. Oh well. Yeah, and then we're just going to build up the smokestack section and use the black color as kind of a suggestion of a hole in place of an actual hole. And yeah, we'll just attach those really quick. Or at least there will end up being 3. I only have 1 built right now. And just put those right above where they would be, where the pillars are going to be. So all lines up nicely. And I, have to modify some measurements sometimes to make everything line up right. But that's just part of the process. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see right here that pillar is totally not centered. And we'll see how long it takes for me to notice that. But it's definitely not centered right now. Luckily, the ones we're placing right now, they don't have to be centered because they are symmetrical. But yeah, I think I realize right now as I'm trying to place the one underneath. Maybe. I'll realize that at some point. I'll fix it. Don't worry. Yeah, luckily these all line up pretty well. Yeah, I think here I realize it's not in the center, which is annoying. Easy fix. Very easy fix. Yeah, this is about what will be the end of it. We're wrapping it up. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're looking forward to the rest of the whole section, or not the whole, the deck section. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and have a good day.